city, my hometown, the city that never sleeps. And neither does its transportation system. I mean, really, you can take any bus/train at any time of the day, but not all lines run at all times. I mean, that's the MTA for you. Oh, and for those of y'all who don't live in New York, the MTA stands for Metropolitan Transportation Authority. I have to add a little context. Anyways, but in other cities across the country and around the world, that concept can vary from more or less to abundant/non-existent. But in recent years, transportation has been up in the air, going into the ground, or, rolling down the street, selling chemicals, causing Davenport and juice. Shout out to East Palestine, Ohio by your side. Shout out to West Coast own Snoop Dogg, yes, the legend. But does that describe different methods of transportation or the recent derailments and 4 plane crashes that occurred in the U.S. in 1 month? Depends on who you ask and how you look at it. The same can be said for transportation. I mean, let's look at it this way. Fares and tolls are high, but I gotta get to work, so yeah, planes are crashing, but I got places to be and people to see, so, and, oh God, no, anything, please, anything but the bus. But Uber got a surcharge now due to congesting pricing, so yeah, you get where I'm going with this, right? And honey, with all the recent crashes, derailments, and disasters, both man-made and natural, upgrades and improvements/enhancements, all alleged, by the way, and in quote-unquote quotation marks. And everyone Googling who and what the hell is the NTSB? Or better, I should say, everyone Googling what and who the hell is the NTSB? Child, let's talk about, Dionne, Miss Warwick, or Warwick, as your actual last name is. It's spelled with 2 R's, not an R and a W. I think you actually, said it best. But what is your shorthand? Oh, yes, trains and boats and planes. No. Transportation, yes, there we are. Now, transportation is defined as the movement of goods and or people from place to place and the various means by which such movement is achieved. Now, goods we'll talk about later on, but let's talk about people to start off with. Now, let's say you want to go somewhere. You need to know how you're going to get there. And now, depending on where you are in the world, how to get around can vary. I mean, there are all things you can take. You can take a bus, a train, a taxi bus, a car, a plane, a boat, an animal, a moped, a motorcycle, a truck, a hoverboard, a skateboard, etc., etc. You know where I'm going with this. Hell, you can even walk, Lord knows I do, but I'm a different kind. But then again, it depends on where you want to go and where the hell you're at in the world. Where I live in NYC, you can see almost all of that, except animals. I don't really see people riding animals, unless it's the NYPD and they're just, part of the mountain division. But in other countries, specifically in the Middle East and Asia, you can definitely see people over here using camels or using those interesting animals that you see in Bora Bora, but anyways. But let's start off with the mode of transport I take on the daily, which is the bus and trains, courtesy of the MTA. Now, on any given day, on any given MTA train and or bus, but we're going to start off with trains just to start off with, there can be delays due to quote-unquote signal malfunctions, quote-unquote track maintenance, and quote-unquote NYPD investigations. And for those of y'all who don't live in NYC, again, let me provide some context. It could be, someone jumped in front of a train, otherwise known as track maintenance, a fight, stabbing, and or shooting occurring, otherwise known as an NYPD investigation, or a blackout, track fire, and or service change, otherwise known as a quote-unquote signal malfunction. I have to give a little context again. That can also be coupled with the fact that, there are also, homeless people begging, sleeping, and in some cases accosting something and or somebody. Trust me, I've seen it happen. People selling everything from books and candy to keychains and incense, and performers from singers, dancers, and instrumentalists alike. And all that can take place on a good and or bad day. Again, depending on who you are. That shit can vary. Now, most New Yorkers, native ones, we don't care about any of that shit. As long as we can get to where we need to get to without too many delays or without being forced off a train since a train went out of service after being stuck in between stations for over an hour as a result of a medical emergency. I'm sorry, it's just, even this hypothetical is so triggering. But anyways, all that shit happens underground. Now above, you have buses. Now, MTA buses, the only differences are not a lot of homeless people sleep on it, not a lot of dancing or slinging going on, and nobody's really selling anything. Really, nobody really is. I mean, Lord knows that's a small space. However, you do have to deal with traffic since buses are driving with other modes of transport on the streets, whether it be cars, trucks, etc., etc. And there's also limited and local service, and then there's the whole issue of not every bus going everywhere since, some buses, they have to end due to, parades, marathons, this, that, and the third. So detours and, just buses just being like, yo, this is the end of the line. That shit happens very often. So you may have to do constant transfers. Ask anybody with NJ Transit, which we'll get to y'all. We're going to get to y'all, trust me. But unlike trains, buses will still let you ride without a fare. Oh, and speaking of, while we're on that subject, now, how do I feel about fare evasion? Well, considering the service that the MTA provides, hey, you do what you have to do, all right? Me, personally, I try to avoid it since, I ain't trying to pay $100 fine, but sometimes it's not worth the $2.90, okay? So if you can take a free ride, take it, okay? And with the constant fare hikes that the MTA votes on to receive the same quote-unquote iffy service, fare evasion has become like coffee and cigarettes. It's a part of NYC. It's a way of life. Now, we're going to move on to other methods of transportation, specifically cars. Whether it be, taking taxis and taking Uber/Lyfts, which those have their own kind of complications, whether it be, taxis constantly, having the meter running, or kind of Ubers and Lyfts running surcharges because, of tolls they have to do, and of course congestion pricing, which we'll talk about that in a minute. We will get to that, believe me. And then of course there's the infamous thing of taxi buses, which you find more so in Caribbean countries, which for me, I have no problem taking taxi buses, but it's more so, they don't exactly go every single place that you may want to go. And also the pricing can be a little iffy. And Lord knows, depending on if you're going to pay the price or not, you may be, arrested afterwards, or you may be held up for ransom. I'm not saying that actually happens, but I've heard horror stories. But moving on. Now, when it comes to people actually driving their own cars, oh yeah. Living in NYC, I personally don't see the point of having a car, unless you live and or work in different boroughs/states or need one for work, like, if you're a delivery service worker. I mean, come on, from traffic and finding a parking space to tickets and slow-size fares. And speaking of, let's finally talk about congestion pricing. How do I feel about it? Well, I walk and take public transportation, so I do not have a real dog in that fight. But I will say this, $9 from 15, not a bad compromise. And people have been talking about this for a while, okay? I mean, I can't exactly see for the people in Staten Island, since they may actually have more of a gripe about it, and I see their point, so I don't know. They may need to find more of a compromise with that, but so no, I think it's a nice one, and it only has to be paid once now, okay? And congestion pricing in NYC, for those of you who don't know, that's only applies to the borough of Manhattan, specifically from 60th Street down, or pretty much from Central Park South. Not exactly Central Park going to up north to Harlem, going towards the Bronx, but more so going down and towards to Brooklyn, if that makes any sense. So y'all don't go look on a map, child. But yeah, and it's only happening from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. on the weekdays and 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on the weekends. And of course, the weekends do have a $2.50 surcharge on top of that, but it's okay. It'll be fine. I'll do something. I'll make it work. And also, it's being implemented to reduce traffic in that area and to generate money for the MTA. Like they need more money. Child, I don't know. But not all places can be accessed by ground transportation. In NYC, two boroughs specifically are islands, Manhattan and, of course, Staten Island. And for those two boroughs, you can take a boat, aka a ferry. Now, boats are smooth, generally, and have less stops, so it's, you can get around, you can get to places rather quickly, in a sense. However, ferries are subject to longer wait times and reduced service due to, weather conditions, i.e. fog, that reduces visibility, and also staffing shortages. Go figure. But, and hell, I waited for a ferry once. I was better off swimming, to be honest, But anyways, then there are places that you want to go to that can't be accessed by a train, car, or boat due to extreme distance or no infrastructure, i.e., an ocean, no interconnected train networks, and a long distance via ground transportation, or just, they just want to do things just for time. So then in that instance, people would take planes and... Baby, where to start with planes? 44 aviation incidences with 151 deaths as of this year alone, according to the NTSB, also known as the National Transportation Safety Board. And boy, have they been getting some goddamn needed press. They're going to become famous this year. With the biggest loss of life happening via the Potomac River crash on January 29th, with 69 people losing their lives after a passenger plane and also a black helicopter or military plane colliding into each other. So tragic. And child, more recently with everything going on at Newark Airport with the radar and radio outages for 90 seconds apiece. Yes, I said apiece and I said outages because this has happened multiple times and also recently happened in Denver, resulting in massive delays and employees taking trauma leave. Child, I understand. That also coupled with the real ID requirements now and also all the other delays, due to weather, unruly customers, wings of planes catching on fire, planes turning over on themselves on the runways and burning up, wings clipping each other, and not to mention now stowaways. Child, it's amazing anybody wants to go anywhere on a plane anymore. But baby, what is the cause of all this? What's going on? Where is all this uncertainty around air travel coming from? Is it old systems? Is it DEI, as Mr. Duffy's brother Sean, the transportation secretary, has actually, tried to pass it off on us? Which, Mr. Duffy, Sean, what's going on? What's going on? What do you have to say for yourself? Oh, you don't know? Right, got you. I will say this, at least Buttigieg, at least he never laid nobody else. But politics aside, air travel will always remain one of the most riskiest forms of travel for humans. Now, when it comes to goods, there's no question. It's trains, boo. It is trains that has caused the most damage. Take the infamous East Palestine train derailment in 2023 that we talked about earlier, spilling tons of hydrogen chloride and phosphagen into the air as a result of 38 cars burning nonstop. Not to mention it caused $803 million in damage overall. But that's a side note. And also then, are the other train derailments that happened in 2023, since 2023 really was the year of train derailments, from the one that happened in Springfield, Ohio in the same year. And also the one that happened in Phoenix, Arizona in 2020, resulting in a whole bridge collapse. And speaking of the bridge collapse, it's not just trains that can sit over here and burn a bridge to the ground. Oh no. Ferries and boats can do it too. Take the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse that happened last March as a result of a container ship striking one of the piers, causing ships to be blocked for 11 weeks, 6 deaths, and about $1.9 billion to replace the bridge. Ooh, child. I cannot. Not to mention, having people, there was hearing, but I heard about, but there was actually been instances where people and goods traveled to the same place at the same time. No, really, I heard a story about someone at my job, FedEx, getting trapped in a trailer with packages and ending up in Massachusetts. How? Child, I don't know, but It's possible, and oh boy, oh, hold on, look at the time. I actually have somewhere to be, and I gotta get to work soon. Well, not today since it's Saturday, but I actually do have to go uptown soon. So before I get out my map on my phone and find out how the hell I'm gonna get there from the library, not my house, a few things. Number one, transportation is essential, but it's not guaranteed, okay? Learn how to make alternatives to get around. Number two, strikes are not about you. They're about the people whose job it is to get people to where they need to be. And on that note, to everyone in New Jersey Transit, to all of y'all, to the workers, I'm here for y'all. I stand with y'all. Not only because I don't work in Jersey no more and I'm not affected. I mean, I may be part of it, but more so, y'all deserve a price. Y'all deserve a price increase. And what Lord knows, costs is going high, and y'all gotta be able to eat, live, and afford it too. All right. And to all the commuters, find other ways. All right. Y'all have had 5 years to plan for this. Find other ways. And number three, when train stops, buses reach at the end of the line, and planes are delayed, you can always either stay in place or you could walk it out, or hell, run for dear life. Swim, yeah, maybe not. The ocean is vast, and you could lose a limb and or oxygen before you get to your destination. Just saying.
And boats and planes took you away, but every time I see them I pray, and if my prayer can cross the sea, the trains and the boats